That's up in the air. Thought he might take a chance. Ashwin gets 5.
Oh, hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Reminisce with Ash. Hello everyone. Good evening to this episode of Reminisce with Ash. I'm extremely excited today for a number of reasons. I've been totally excited for the entire duration of the last 24 hours because of the kind of guest I'm going to have. And point number 2, because of the match that we'll be talking about. This is a match that provided heartbreak for me exactly about, let's say, 24 years and a bit. And like every other Indian who is watching cricket, I believed India will go on to win this World Cup. It didn't quite ensue. Sachin Tendulkar had an unbelievable World Cup. He was batting at his best in the sense he was... Oh, thank you, hairstyle. Thank you for the comments on my hairstyle. These are all, COVID-related issues. I've clearly not had time to go out and get a haircut, and it's not advisable either. I hope none of you are doing it. But today, the guest is extremely exciting for me, first one, and the next one is the match that we'll be talking about. I've also taken one of these games where India didn't go on to win, and as we are talking, to be perfect on timing is our guest for today. A very unique Instagram as well, Sanjay Photos. So I'm really looking forward to have a chat with him. Hi Sanjay, how are you doing? Welcome on the reverse side on this series of Reminisce with Ash. How are you doing?
Good. This seems like a very well-planned vengeance, because I did an interview with you a few weeks back. So after that has finished, you thought, okay, let me now get onto the other side and ask the question. But as you said, this match is brilliant, and me too, and I'm sure the fans as well would be excited to talk specifically about this game. Yeah.
Sanjay, before we get into the match, I know this is one of the episodes that I didn't have to prepare much about the match, because I know my guest will be doing the honors for me and I can take a back seat. And for me, Sanjay, tell me something. You've grown up and played entire cricket of yours from Mumbai, right? So I'm sure Shivaji Park means a lot to you. Do you remember the first time you walked out to Shivaji Park and played a game? How did you feel?
See, my introduction to cricket was natural because my father played for India, and there were a lot of cricketers who would come to my place, the old place that we used to live in, Dadar. And interestingly, because I used to keep seeing all these superstars around the house, so the cricketers that I met were all test cricketers. My father's friends were all test cricketers. Sunil Gavaskar, G.R. Vishwanath, Prasanna, Chandrasekhar, Rohan Kanai from the West Indies came to my old house, and I'm a kid, and there was only one sport in that area. You played cricket, and I'm looking at these guys, and I want to be like them. The fans are all, gunning for them. So I thought, this is a great way to become popular as well. So for a long time, Ashwin, I felt that I want to be a cricketer, and when I grow up, I'll become a test cricketer by default. It's only later when I got some brains that I realized it's not that easy.
Okay, but do you remember the occasion? Were you excited for a long time when you went out to play? It could be Shivaji Park or like going out to Wankhede and playing. Do you remember that feeling? How was the 24 hours leading up to the game?
Yes, so my father was more Shivaji Park. I was more Matunga, where my school was. So my first introduction to hardball cricket and the whole gear, wearing the whites, was when I played for my school. And it was unbelievable, because until then I just dreamt about wearing those whites. There were more creams, in our time it was more about having the off-white sort of flannel with pleats and stuff, then wearing pads and gloves and the shoes that made noise, on a hard surface. So those were the things that I was fascinated by. So my first introduction was school nets, and it was just incredible. It was like that was the only thing that I was going to do in my life. And eventually when it happened, and, it was just something, I was very single-minded about it. And I'll never forget that feeling. Matunga, cricket ground, nets, and then, the Giles Shield at Cross Maidan in town and all that. Those are just great days.
Sanjay, if you had a feeling of going out there and that exuberance that existed within you, that's exactly how I felt over the last 24 hours. Knowing that I am going to be on this side and talking to you and asking you questions is something that really excited me. But before we delay it much, I will get to the segment where I will ask you questions. But for now, tell me, what do you remember about this 1996 World Cup semi-final, Sanjay? Because for me, it looked like, I mean, I didn't know much of cricket then. I was just playing the game. I was watching every game that India played with an intent of saying India should be the best in the world. They should go on to win the World Cup. For me, it was all about Sachin and India's great chance after that Pakistan victory. So, how was the dressing room mood going into this game?
So that match, 1996, at the Eden Gardens, first of the two semi-finals, we had gone through to the semis. But what happened before that had a lot to do with our performance against Sri Lanka at Eden Gardens. We beat Pakistan, a much stronger side, because Pakistan at that time was superior. They would beat India virtually every one-day game. So we were the underdogs in that particular quarterfinal. It was a knockout game, and we won that game. And there were 3 days of euphoria. Ashwin, 3 days of just being in Bangalore and soaking in the celebration, and people were so proud that we'd beaten Pakistan. And Sri Lanka was sort of a little stop before going for the final game in Lahore. That is how we looked at it. Although Sri Lanka had beaten us earlier in the tournament, they weren't somebody that we were intimidated by, because we had just beaten Pakistan. Our confidence was very high, and that may have had something to do with us losing to Sri Lanka. We thought at the time that Sri Lanka was a two-batsman team, Sanjay Jayasuriya and and if you get them out, we'll be through straight away to Lahore.
But so it was the feeling, it was the case where you thought, okay, this World Cup is done. We'll go to Lahore, get the World Cup, and come back home. Is that what you guys were thinking?
Yes, and since 2000, when I've been watching you guys, and that has been the big change that I've seen in Indian cricket, where mentally you guys are a lot tougher. We used to get a little too excited. There was the 1992 match against Australia as well, on the verge of winning, and then we just got panicky and let the match go. So this was us being a little, too complacent. Although it was a World Cup, Eden Gardens, everything was there to get us motivated. Surely we were, but somewhere at the back of our minds, we were a little too not confident, but weren't really, wanting to beat Sri Lanka the way we were in, say, Bangalore before the Pakistan game. And I think made a wrong call as well with the toss and stuff. So yeah, it was.
That's exactly where I was getting to, Sanjay. Let's talk about the game a little bit in itself.
Yeah.
Sure. Did it look like one of those wickets that would get Demonis at the back end of the game? Was it a consolidated decision to bowl first? How was it? I mean, it's a talked about point.
Yeah, again, there is a match prior to this one before the decision. What happened when we are doing commentary, it as well. We watch a certain performance, we talk about it. We don't realize something had happened before the game or the match before that particular game that had a huge bearing on what happened there. So India, Sri Lanka, we played them earlier in the tournament at Firozshah Kotla. And we batted first, and we got 270 runs. And they chased down that
Sri Lanka chopped it off
in the 49th over. So we realized these guys chase targets pretty well. So we won the toss, and the reason for getting, for wanting to bat second was to not allow Sri Lanka to chase again. So that was a slightly defensive move. Having said that, in that run chase, when we had to get just about 250, Sachin and me, for the second wicket, we had a partnership of 90 runs and looking pretty good. And at the time, I'm sure people are thinking, wow, 120 for one, they should be winning.
Lahore beckons.
Yeah. And suddenly, it happens. You lose a couple of wickets and the pitch becomes unplayable. Also, the fact that they had a bowling attack more suited to that surface than the one that we had.
Correct. And generally, traditionally, Eden Gardens hasn't been one of those greatest chasing venues, especially in white ball cricket. I mean, that's not then, but since 1996, whatever track record we are seeing, it's proven as a case. But from a viewer's perspective, I'm not talking from a cricketer understanding perspective today. What was it? Was it a ploy to get Anil Bhai bowl the first few overs to try and dismantle Jayasuriya and Kaluvitrana? I mean, what was the thinking behind it?
See, we had a long meeting before the game, and if the meeting was for about an hour, 55 minutes was spent on Sanjay Jayasuriya and Kaluvitrana.
Did you contribute much?
Sorry?
Did you contribute anything?
No, they both got out in the first over.
No, but did you contribute in the meeting?
You know me. It's hard. It's hard for me to keep my mouth shut.
It's not about me knowing you. It's about you telling us what you contributed.
I don't remember because I just couldn't keep my mouth shut, right? So if there is a discussion happening, I'm sure I must have contributed. And whatever I did, I have no idea exactly. But, our whole focus was on getting these two guys out because they were in tremendous form. They were sort of pinch hitters of quality from both ends. And we didn't quite think about Guru Singha and Arvinda De Silva and Arjuna Ranatunga, Roshan Mahanama or Hashan Tilakaratne. So Kalu Vita and Sanat Jayasuriya, all the planning was done for them. And once they were gone, we were just going through the motions with the others. And Arvinda De Silva, when I look at the numbers now, Ash, he played an unbelievable innings. I'll tell you exactly, he got 66 or 47 balls in a score of 85 at the time, 14 fours. And that really just got us off the rails a bit.
In fact, if you look at it in hindsight, the kind of pitch it was, how difficult it became to bat after one wicket fell, to come at the back of 2 wickets back to back. I think both of them were held at third man. Was it? Did you hold on to one of those?
Yeah, I held on to, I think, Kalu Vitha and Sanat at third man. Yeah, both. I think the other one was taken by Venkatesh Prasad. So Srinath got 2 wickets in the. Yeah. So both of us got just imagine both of us, third man, fine leg, and match starts and 2 of us in the game straight away with catches in the deep.
No, but I mean, the crowd and the way the crowd erupted after those catches were taken, and just the way Jayasuriya batted against India at the Ferozshah Kotla, and the way he was dismissed, and in walked Aravinda. And genuinely, even as a fan, we are thinking, hey, here is Aravinda, here is Arjuna Ranatunga, and here is Roshan Mahanama. Okay, Sri Lanka is getting to 220, and the way Sachin is batting, and the way, especially the way he batted at the Wankhede against Australia, the fans were thinking, yeah, this game is done. But what was it in the pitch, Sanjay? Was there anything when we bowled first as well, or did it deteriorate much in the later half?
I don't think the pitch would have changed that much, because you're talking about a day-night game. So the pitch was there, ready to turn. But look at our bowling attack, Anil Kumble and Ashish Kapoor, and nobody else really. Ashish Kapoor is sort of, more a flight kind of. Yeah. So he's not a Sanat Jayasuriya. Guys you needed for that kind of a pitch. So we didn't quite see what the pitch had as potential help for those kind of bowlers. And they had Muthaiya Muralidharan, Kumar Dharmasena. Yeah. So they had the attack. And in that era, Ashwin, Sachin was the one player. He got out and India sort of just lost a bit of self-confidence. Sidhu had got out early. Azharuddin came and it wasn't a pitch to his liking. The ball wasn't coming on. They were all fired. I'll never forget a smile that Dharmasena gave when he bowled the first ball to Azhar when he came in. Sachin was out. So they were sort of, they felt half the Indian team is gone. And Azhar came and he faced one ball from Dharmasena, who was not a big spinner, bowled a short of leg. It was almost like a bouncer around waist high. And he sort of looked around at everybody. And I'll never forget that all of them were like, okay, this is our game. Sachin's gone. The pitch is, just perfect for us. You guys are not going to win this one.
To keep things in perspective, Kumar still does it after he gives you out nowadays. So I'm not surprised that Kumar did it then. But I remember Azhar actually chipping one back to Kumar Dharmasena then, and it seemed like the game was done once Azhar had got out. But tell me something, Sanjay. What is, in fact, I remember after this game, I actually turned into a spinner and went around bowling around the stumps to get everybody out, around the legs. It became some sort of a fascination. We all knew Shane Warne did it for a long time, but Sanat Jayasuriya just came in, bowled over the stumps. Were there any big footmarks from where it spun? Because I know Sachin got out, run out. He probably didn't see the ball go through. And I mean, if I blame you today because you didn't call, people will accept it. But it was obviously clearly reached to the keeper. So tell me, was there any big rough patches from which it was turning for Jayasuriya from over the stumps?
Not really. You played at the Eden Garden. So just imagine sort of at that time a grey pitch with basically soil, loose top. So it wasn't like the rest of the pitch was very good and there were these roughs that he was exploiting. The whole pitch had become a little dry, flaky and nothing. There was no hardness, no smoothness. The ball was going to turn. And Sanat just had that, right kind of trajectory. You know how it is.
Pace.
And there was enough rough for him to exploit. And yes, something that, as I said, that team of that era didn't quite keep their senses about. There was a lot of passion, emotions coming into play. It wasn't a calm, clinical approach. Okay, Sanat is the only dangerous bowler on this kind of pitch because Murali just got 1 wicket. I think Sanat got 3. And we could have just played him out without, trying anything and then, settled the game for later. Ajay Jadeja was in good form. But we always let the emotions get the better of us at that time. It was about trying to get the better of Sana Jayasuriya and perished.
Okay. No, but I mean, truth be told, that era of batsman against spin was also of highest quality, right? So you would think that somebody like an Azhar, somebody like an Ajay Jadeja, even somebody for that matter of yourself, wanting to take the attack to Jayasuriya, was that counterproductive? Would you have changed the approach if it was today?
Yeah, today, I mean, there would be a different answer for every bowler. In that time, 250, I think it was 250, right? Yeah, 250.
250, yeah.
So the approach was about, keeping wickets intact and go at 3 runs and over, 4 runs and over, and try and make it up later. I don't think anyone was really geared or had this role in the first 5 or 6 to go out there and take on the bowler at the time. Didn't happen as much. Martin Crowe had that theory of bowling Deepak Patel in 92. He had some pinch hitters at the top, but that was very rarely done. So our theory was...
Mark Greatbatch did it, right?
Mark Greatbatch did it for him. So, some teams were doing it, but our thing was about setting the platform. Sidhu was a super player of spin. Sachin is, I played spin well, Ajay Jadeja, everybody. But once the wickets were gone, the pitch had something in it. And something about Sri Lankans, Ashwin, they don't get nervous or anxious that here's a chance for us to get into the finals. And they were superb. And something that I asked Mahela as well. And that's one of the reasons why their performances in ICC tournaments is so good. Because they've gone to the final stages so often. So nerves on that kind of a stage is something that never afflicts Sri Lanka. And they kept their calm, played sensibly.
And I don't know if you followed the series. I had Russell Arnold come on the show some time back. And Russell, when I was actually putting Russell on the back foot, I was telling him, hey, you know what? Sri Lanka always, you always keep backing them. But it seems like India is always a bigger brother. We don't consider it as much of an opponent. And I was just, winding him up. And Russell said something. I mean, he obviously had to hit back. So he said, you know what? If you look at return on investment, the number of people that play cricket in Sri Lanka and the size of our country, our ROI on cricket is far greater than yours.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, oh, okay, it just hit me. That's when I realized what an iconic figure Arjuna Ranatunga must have been, right? What exactly was he like? What presence did he make to the Sri Lankan team?
He was the father figure, like a bit like Imran Khan. So he was like the boss, and pretty sharp. Very street smart. So when he came into bat as well, he had lost all power. It's not somebody who will spend a minute in the gym. So he was overweight. He walked his singles and twos, but used the pace of the bowlers. So all his runs would be dabs, down to
square of the wicket,
here and there, and that's it. That's all he did. He didn't have the game where he would hit straight down the pitch, but he would surprise you sometimes. But he just had this calmness. And if you get a chance to speak to Arjuna, you'll see that he's a very secure, confident person. And he had early success. The team was holding him in great awe. He knew Arvinda was a match winner for him in the side. But he was just a guy who was very comfortable leading, very secure. So the team fed off him. A bit like MS, how he seems calm. On the big stage, Arjuna had the same kind of presence. So when all this was happening, Arjuna was typical with his body language around there. Wasn't the most excitable guy on the field. So had limitations in ability, but tremendous self-confidence.
Unbelievable. That's a great point that you said, because at the end of the day, doesn't matter how good a player you are. Yes, it does to be the captain of the side, but it also matters about how well you can harness the energy of the team, right? So, like you rightly said, if the team plays for a captain, and if a team just plays to its abilities, the team that plays for the captain most often than not wins, right? So,
and also he just tried to fit in a small sort of hole in the team. He wasn't like somebody who wanted to bat at number 3 or be in the opening 2. He knew that he was a limited player by that time. And he just had to chip in where needed. But his main job was captaincy and ensure that, he was around if he was needed in a crisis situation like this.
Wow, that's an unbelievable insight. I didn't expect that today, but it came out as a surprise. But tell me something, Sanjay. The game was at 120 for 8. Vinod Kambli was batting. Yes, he's probably the only left-hander in the lineup then?
Who was Ajay Jadeja before me? Then there was Sachin Tendulkar, Azharuddin, myself. Yeah.
So he was the only left-hander in the lineup. But was it much of a thing then to actually send in a left-hander when the left-arm spinner was bowling, or was it not a thing at all then?
It was a thing. I mean, if you look at even before 96, the Nehru Cup, which was late 80s. Chetan Sharma has gone in at number 3 or something for India and has got 100 in a 50 overs match. So that has happened. But India didn't want to change things purely because things were working. And Mohammad Azharuddin, who wants to go ahead of Mohammad Azharuddin, is a great player of spin. Ajay Jadeja has had a great time, and we always thought we'll be able to get there because the score wasn't 310 that we thought in the mid innings that we'll have to do something special in at least 5 or 6 or 10 overs to get that little jump ahead. So we relied on being safe and going by the same approach that had got us there until then.
But what happened? How was the dressing room atmosphere when the whole crowd started? They were obviously disappointed, and that was some sort of a theme around India at that time, where people expressed their disappointment, throwing in bottles and stalling the games and all that sort of stuff. Did you feel that you were in with a chance? Because Ashish Kapoor was a decent first-class batsman. Vinod Kambli is very, very proudly known in Mumbai for how he tongs spin. So was it like, why don't you just give us an outside chance? Was there a feeling inside like that?
No. I think when we were 120 for 8, I think when the match was called off, and Vinod Kambli also at the time wasn't really in the best of form, then they were bowling superbly, Ashwin. The pitch was responding, and Arjuna being the captain they were giving nothing away. So there wasn't a case of, see Sana Jayasuriya off and then you'll be fine. But there was a Dharmasena, his tail was up. There was a Muthaiya Muralidhar who bowled 10 overs, I think. So we knew we were done when Azhar was gone, Ajay, everybody was gone. So we were done. And Vinod was just hanging in there, hoping, something would happen. And
just delaying the
Eden Gardens crowd, they're very smart. They realized that India is not going to win this match on the field. So let's try and do something about it. So they tried to take the matter in their own hands. But Clive Lloyd was much too smart for them.
No, I mean, that settled there. But we cannot leave. I mean, we're pretty much done about covering this game. But we cannot leave this episode without talking about the Sachin Tendulkar, the batsman in this particular competition. Can we? Because he didn't have a sponsor on his bat. That's the first thing that comes to my head. And most of the other team was using a bat with a sponsor called Foursquare. If I'm not wrong, that includes you as well.
Yeah.
And he just went out there like a man on possession, right? What did you make of it? Can you compare that batting across eras and talk about how you felt about Sachin the batsman then?
See, Sachin the batsman, he made his debut in 89. And in just about a year, I think after maybe he got an 80 in New Zealand, he got his first 100 in England, which is 90. And by 91, 92, the world was looking at him as a world-class player. The age was always a factor, just 17 years old, and the way he's dominating, quality attacks. But for us in the team, there was no doubt that this guy was in a different league. And unfortunately, by 96, 97, the team was really too dependent on Tendulkar, because he was damn consistent, and he was, I think, India's first batsman who was able to dominate and hit good balls for runs. Until then, India was about defensive batting and putting the bad balls away, like a Sunil Gavaskar, a couple of sessions of giving respect to the bowler, and then as they tire out, you get the loose ball, you score off it. Sachin would hit a good ball from a quality bowler on the up for 4. So there was no doubt in anyone's mind that he was in a different league, but unfortunately, the batting around him wasn't great. But in India, at least, there were a lot of other batsmen who would get runs. It was just that one evening there at Eden Gardens, where again it was left to him. See, Sachin's greatness in that time was his failures were so rare, and right through his career, and that is, I think, a hallmark of a great batsman. Sachin getting out was a very rare thing. So when you look at a scorecard in this also, here's a guy, Sachin has gone and got a 60 or something in this score of 120 or even more. So he's got scores there virtually every inning. Even at the school level, Ashwin, every match he would get a run. First Ranji debut, got 100. Dulip Trophy 100. So his failures were very rare, and that set him apart from all of us.
Sanjay, interesting that you speak about Sachin in that tone, because it is not surprising. It is not surprising. You actually played along with him so much, and you admired his batting, and in so much so that you also were coming in to like support Sachin at that time, probably being the second batsman rated very highly in Mumbai as well. But for me, when you're talking, you said Sachin's failure was very rare, and you said you're talking from a batsman's perspective or a teammate's perspective. But as a fan or a child watching the game, my stomach used to churn when Sachin batted because of the fear. What if he gets out?
Yeah.
That sort of a feeling which I can never forget. And this World Cup was something that always sticks in my head. But do you remember the catch you pulled off against Australia, Sanjay? That's something I just wanted to pick out as a moment.
Yes,
Can you
it's
talk
on
to the viewers
YouTube
about the catch?
Yeah, these are things that, you've been on the field. These are things that happen. And then after it's happened, you realize, oh, wow, I've done something like that. So this was my comeback game. And by 96, my career had become a bit of a struggle. So there's a story as well with this World Cup that I was picked in the team. But in the first game, I think it was against Kenya in somewhere in Cuttack, I wasn't picked. And I don't think I played the first couple of games. And afternoon of the match, I come into the bus and I see Navjot Singh Sidhu have a stiff neck again. And I got an idea that I could be playing that game. So that was my first game of the tournament. So obviously a bit nervous playing home ground. But at point, Ricky Ponting cuts the ball. And the thing is, I'm always involved in the game. I'm never surprised when the ball comes to me. All the other things are later, my athleticism or the ability to take catches. So I'm never surprised. So I was always watching the game. And that thing actually happened. And as a cricketer, I've always felt that when you actually do that, you don't think it's that great a catch. But when the crowd erupted, and even today on people on YouTube, a lot of people watching and say, what a fantastic catch that was. But when I look back at my career, it was more, that stage when I took the catch, the batsman, because there have been a few others that I've liked better. But that is one of the more sort of famous and talked about catches, and an important one, Ricky Ponting. That's another game we should have won that we lost.
Okay. Sanjay, that brings us to the end of this episode of Reminisce with Ash. But usually I do this with other guests when I start, like ask them questions that I want to ask them. But this will be a slightly different one where I'm going to start now. It's called, I would like to call it heart to heart, right? So there have been a lot of questions that have been coming in from fans ever since I put this saying that Sanjay will be live with me. And some of them are, critical and some of them aren't. But I would like to ask you something where I can kick it off. What do you want the fans of India or all over the world to see Sanjay Manjrekar as? Would you want them to remember you as the cricketer or as the broadcaster, as a good broadcaster or a great broadcaster? And this question comes from Gaurav Sundaram.
Okay. I know Gaurav, and it's a good question. Of late, what has happened is I've worked really hard at anything that I do. So I've worked really hard at my commentary, and I've been doing this for a long time. And the producers that work with me realize the value that I bring to the coverage, because you'll see me doing tosses, you'll see me doing interviews, I'll be doing lead, color. So I do virtually everything that is to be done as a broadcaster. But then I say certain things which, make news. Some players get upset, they react, and that becomes the Sanjay Manjrekar story. So the broadcaster and the commentator is left behind, and what comes out more is this guy who said this thing. And the fans who adore a certain cricketer who I have not, complimented or have been slightly critical about, then obviously that fan club is going to be angry with the Sanjay Manjrekar. It's not so much about me, the person, because nobody has met me. And it's not so much about the commentator.
But about being the best broadcaster or the best cricketer that you want the fans to remember you?
I think broadcaster now, because that's been a longer career. Let's be honest, I played for 10 years. And I was a good player. I was not brilliant, or, it wasn't that I got a raw deal and I should have played a lot more. So I was a pretty good player. But as a broadcaster, I think coming from India, which doesn't have a legacy of, 15, 20 commentators before me that did commentary on the world stage, I'd like to say that I've contributed post-retirement, and I've always tried to do the right things, not worrying so much about how people will perceive it, but saying it the way it is. And then sometimes being surprised when I've made a very benign kind of observation, which I thought is quite harmless. And then it goes out there and suddenly it's a big story. So that sometimes surprises me.
Sanjay, I've spoken to you at length a few times, and I do understand you. I think I do understand you a little bit from the perspective of what you do and what you say. But tell me something. Is there a possibility that Sanjay the person and his expectations of what he wanted to be as a cricketer, or the expectations he had of himself, is coming in when he's become the broadcaster, wanting to sort of say, I wanted to be the best cricketer, but here is another chance. I want to be the best here, be like maybe the Sachin Tendulkar of broadcasting. Is there a possibility that that's there in your head when you're doing the job? And is that why sometimes you see cricketers in a very technical fashion, in a very, a critical eye sometimes? Is that a possibility?
See, as a cricketer, when I finished, I retired at the age of 32 because I thought, there was no way I was going to come back. And I made peace with what happened, because the one thing that I do, and I said this in my book as well, if I'm critical about somebody else, if he's feeling hurt, he should see me criticize myself, because I'm hyper critical of myself. So when I quit, I knew exactly why I played so much. So there wasn't this feeling of, the world gave me a raw deal or something. So that is when you carry the bad blood into your next innings. So the next innings has been about something that I really love. I enjoy this job. And if it's taken away from me, enjoyment is taken away from me. Because I've had opportunities to maybe get into something else as well, because there's so much happening in India. So we are lucky as retired cricketers, there are so many other opportunities. But this is something that I love. Even after so many years, when I get ready to go to the ground, I'm happy. Even doing a 30-minute stint recently in that India-New Zealand series when you guys were there out of an office here in Worli, I was excited. So I realized this is a job that I love. And if at all anything that happens with me, which is perhaps, people say that this was wrong, or, maybe I didn't do certain things right, it's because I've tried too hard. So when I've done something, it is because I've seen that, I've talked about it, I get very passionate about it. But, I try to stay true. There is no sort of agenda. And I don't think anything spilling over here. Is just somebody who goes out there trying to give his best. And that is my nature. Even in this Insta Live, I'm trying to give you my best possible.
Of course, I will never deny that. I know I will get nothing but the best. But you've just led me on to the next question. So basically, you are wanting to give your best every time that you go out there and do your job. Okay, let's not split it as commentary or whatever it is. It's a profession. You're making your career. Is that right? So when you're making your career, where do you actually draw the line? Because let's say, for example, in movies, when they're taking a movie, there is this disclaimer that comes at the start of the movie saying this movie doesn't pertain to any particular individual or any action that's happened anywhere in the world, and if it hurts anybody's sentiments, we are not responsible because it's a story. Do you sometimes, have you ever felt that in your career as a broadcaster, that what, I gave this interview, but you should run this disclaimer before you play this interview, because you are commenting on people's emotions, not just of the players, but also of a fan sentiment, right? Because a lot of people, like you said, have their fan club and their devotions. In fact, they're devoted to their cricketers, they're idols. So keeping that in mind, is there some sort of a custody in people not being able to see this as a profession and something that's just going on at the backdrop of a game?
See, I'm not trying to fool anybody. I'm also aware of that. So I know my boundaries, and that's the reason I'm still around. Otherwise, I would have been finished as a commentator 5 years back, because I am responsible in the way I say certain things. But Indian fan following is unique, and that is why, Ashwin, I look at it positively as well, and that is why Indian cricket is $1 billion industry. Can you imagine a country like India buying rights for $2 billion and $1 billion and US dollars? And that is because of the way people follow the game. The numbers are there, obviously, but their following is not, just watching the game. And, like the Sri Lankans, when you see them at the ground, they come to watch the game, they blow their trumpet and drums. Sri Lanka loses, they just leave, and they're talking among themselves. The fan following in India is unparalleled. And it is more to do not so much with the game itself, it's about people. The Ashwin fans, the Virat Kohli fans, the Dhoni fans, the CSK fans, Mumbai Indians fans. So these are the guys who really drive the cricket market. And then this is the other side, that if they love somebody so much, they don't want somebody like me finding flaws in that man. So that is something that comes with the job. So either if I see that happening, either I keep my mouth shut, say nothing, so that people will like me better.
You're not going to do that, are you? You're never going to do that, Sanjay. Let's just face it. You're going to be who you are. So,
see, I'd like to think that over the years you get a sense of articulation as well to say a certain thing. but say it in a way that it doesn't hurt the player or the fans as much. And I think I do that. But people are sensitive. Players are sensitive. I used to be sensitive. When Dilip Venksarakar once criticized me in his column, I slipped a note under his door, trying to counter all his observations. So, we've all done it. So it's something I never hold against players when they react. When Tendulkar reacted to a column that I written many years back, or a Jadeja, I keep quiet because I made an opinion. The player has a right to come back and say that you're talking shit or whatever.
So, I mean, that's a very interesting point that you're making, that you do tend to react as a player when somebody passes a comment on your cricket or criticism on you. But where does this leave you? Because you've done that as a player and done that as a broadcaster, and you've been at the receiving end and also at the giving end, right? So how do you suggest, let's just take you as a mentor for a while, and how do you suggest that the next generation or the so-called generation of cricketers deal with such jibes or criticisms that come their way? Because today, whatever I say or you say doesn't reach the fan or the public the way we exactly say it, right? There is room for interpretation, and it can be blown out of proportion. So when this happens, how do you suggest a cricketer handles it? Does he have to pick up the phone and directly deal with it, or just not read it? How do you think he should go about it?
Ideally, because this is the thing that I did with Dilip Venksarakar, because he was a friend, and I just slipped a note in. I didn't react publicly. But my defense, when I was not playing well, was to not read the newspaper, or somebody would say, what is written. I said, forget it, because I know I'm not playing well. I'm sure a lot of people are criticizing me. So I think the best way for a player to deal with us, and I keep saying that, they should look at us as just, I keep saying this, garnish over the main dish. You guys are the main dish. People come to watch you. You're the stars, and we are just making noise around it. We are the chatter. And if you show that we are unimportant, because actually we are. It's not that you're going to get dropped because Sanjay Manjrekar said certain things. As a player, sometimes you feel people around you will tell you, this guy is saying these things, and it will start, it's not good for you or whatever. No, it's your performance. And the selectors aren't listening to what we're saying and reacting accordingly, because we are all, a lot of us are ranting all the time. So the best way to deal with people like us is just, hi, doing his job, we don't care. Kevin Peterson actually is a great example, Ash. He used to have a problem with, some of the English commentators about what they were saying. And then he came and did a stint with us as a commentator in Sri Lanka when the World T20 was held. And he spent a lot of time in the studio, did commentary, and at the end of it, he said, shit, these guys just say things and it's out of their head, and they just move on and do something else. And so it's not something that they come deciding, I'm going to go after this guy, or this is the agenda for the week. They just react, and then he realized that these are pretty cool guys. And he actually said immediately after that I would also recommend that players spend some time when they're free or injured, be on the other side and just be with them. You'll realize no big deal, and nobody's really out there with the malice trying to get Ashwin down. Because the main thing you shouldn't forget, and that is something I'm very conscious of, is the producer sitting behind, my employees, my boss. Because the moment you start doing that, they'll see it, that this guy's sitting there trying to bring somebody down, and you're out. So you've got to be loyal to your producer, and as long as the producer is saying you're doing fine, you're fine. Because your loyalty is really with the producers and the viewers, not so much with the Ravichandran Ashwin. But if the producer feels, Sanjay, you're going over the top there, or rein yourself in, that is something that you've got to listen, because that's his job, to make sure that it's all within the boundaries.
I wanted to get to the last question, but I have a prelude because of what you said. You talk about the producer and the broadcaster relationship here. So I've heard from some of my friends or some of my acquaintances from the comm box, when they speak about this whole bit of what they're talking on the comm box, how much of it is actually producer driven? Do they put something in front of you and make you talk about it? Sometimes does it catch you off the guard so that you're saying something that could just come, like what you said, Kevin Peterson said, you just say it and move on with your life. Does it happen? Is it instigated that way? Is it possible to?
Yeah, when you're talking, see, now our profession is now of two things. One is commentary, when we are there at the site and just doing commentary. And there are studio shows happening everywhere else, in some studio there. And that may be slightly producer driven, because they've got a running order, and the expert is supposed to react to that. But when we are doing commentary, and then generally what happens is, because we played the game, these are guys who played over 100 international matches, no producer really comes in and tells you that, you got to say this or this was wrong. So yes, to answer your question, we are, if at all I'm saying something, it's not producer driven. It's my thought, and that is the same with most commentators.
Perfect. That just gets me to the last question, Sanjay, and a very popular question, I must say. I'm just going to shoot it out and build it out as it was asked. So the question goes, I just put the first phase of it. A broadcaster, where does he draw a line between being biased or not being biased? And let's just give you an example. If Tamil Nadu plays a game with anybody in the world tomorrow, I would say Tamil Nadu has to win. That's because I hail from there. But when I do it on the comm box, does it instigate bias? This is coming from the fact that everybody says that whenever Sanjay is on commentary box, we all know, I know that Sanjay is from Mumbai, he loves Mumbai to bits. But is there a line where you're saying you're not backing Mumbai even when you're in the commentary box? Is that justified? Or is it saying, no, hey, I can have an opinion and I can have a bias?
It's absolutely wrong. Actually, I've heard of this, that I seem to have a bias for a certain Mumbai team in the IPL, and I'm anti.
No, not just that. Generally,
but this is generally what
about
I get
Mumbai
as
and stuff
feedback.
like that. Yeah.
So when I started commentary for the first 5 or 10 years, I used to get a lot of my, people from the Mumbai cricket community who kept saying, Sanjay, yaar, you're not pushing our Mumbai players as much in commentary. And I'm telling you, that is the beauty of Mumbai also, that when we saw Rahul Dravid from Karnataka play an innings in the Irani Trophy, Ravi and myself, we were pushing Rahul Dravid from Karnataka. Or we saw somebody from Delhi or from, wherever, Orissa, SS Das, we used to get excited. And I myself have always been about Indian cricket. So if people today think that I'm a little pro Mumbai Indians and not so much pro CSK, it is purely because I'm biased towards excellence a little bit. And in my first, out of the 11-12 seasons of the IPL, the first 7-8 seasons, I was completely sort of CSK, bowled by CSK about how great the team was. But off late, you can see that there has been a surge from Mumbai India. So I'm saying those things, and I'm also not talking about CSK as highly as
Sanjay,
people make the connection.
No, it's not just about the IPL. Why I put that question out there is because people should know. Everybody watches the IPL, but they don't understand the contribution of Mumbai cricket to Indian cricket through the Ranji Trophy. No, not a lot of people know that you guys have won the competition 41 times and you have the DNA. It takes the DNA to win such tournaments, and hence you're able to produce excellent cricketers for the country. And that's the sort of answer I expected from you. Because in all honesty, if I'm sitting here and I am a very proud cricketer from Tamil Nadu, playing for Tamil Nadu, I want to leave that legacy behind of Tamil Nadu wanting to be Mumbai. It's a far cry. We are 2 and you guys are 41. It's going to take a while. Maybe not in my lifetime, or maybe not in the next one. But that sort of legacy does that to you, doesn't it? Because you should ideally talk about your cricketers, because we are not used to doing that a lot in our part of the world. And that's something that I've been telling a lot of young cricketers as well. We should be able to talk highly of our cricketers and our culture. Is that right? Is it fair?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, some people would be thinking like that, but maybe I guess I'm different, Ashwin. Honestly, I've never been a Mumbai person and, trying to promote Mumbai talent. Even as a player, honestly, if there was somebody like when I was playing for Mumbai and Delhi was a stronger team, I used to admire the Delhi players, and I used to keep telling Mumbai guys to become like, some of those Delhi players, how they're winning matches. So right through my playing career, and even as a broadcaster now, I'm more Indian, and my friends as well. If you look at my friends, 15, 20 people that are really close. And now when I think about it, how many of them are Mumbai or Marathi speaking? They're from all over India. And even as a player, when I shared rooms, I was with Ashish Kapoor, I was with Nayan Mongia. So Sachin was, very close to me during our playing days. But that's about it. So personally, I've never been so much driven by the Mumbai thing. I'm thankful that, I was in Mumbai when I was growing up, because I got a lot of advantages growing up as a player. But once I became a player and post-retirement, it's never been about Mumbai. I've always wanted India to be the team it's become a bit post-2000. That has been the biggest sort of takeaway for me from my playing career. I played from 87 to 97. And we discussed in our chat as well on ESPN Cricket 4 that was the worst sort of phase for Indian cricket. And that was the biggest regret that I would have, that I didn't represent an Indian team that the fans could be proud of, or the world would look up as, what a team.
That's great. You put your side of the story, Sanjay. But for me, Mumbai cricket is a proper blueprint to follow. Okay. And
Even
that is
now?
something that sorry?
Even now or earlier?
Yeah, I mean, you do get teams where you don't win, Sanjay, but that doesn't mean the blueprint is wrong. You know, the pride that it carries and the value it carries, it never goes away. Look at the kind of cricketer that's come out. Let's say a Prithvi Shaw, a Shreyas Iyer. All these guys are coming from the rich legacy that Mumbai cricket has left behind. So there is something there, but we might lose out on the path for a few years here and there, but the legacy is never going to go. And that's something everybody should look to replicate in their own styles. So, Sanjay, this has been an absolutely exhilarating chat. I've enjoyed being on this side of the fence, and thank you so much for joining me today.
It's amazing that a current player like you is so driven to do the kind of stuff that you're doing. Because as a player, I remember I used to just play cricket and be quietly hidden in one corner. So well done. You're doing some wonderful things, and I sort of read you right in that interview also that we did, that you are perhaps one of those guys who just cannot sit still and just be. You've got to keep doing things. So well done. Keep it up.
In this times, it's very important, Sanjay. I hope your family is keeping well, and we will be back to community living. Take care, Sanjay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thanks for all the fans who've joined us. Hopefully they're still there. Yeah.
yeah. All right. See you, Sanjay.
Thank
Bye.
You. Thanks.
All right, guys, we were supposed to go ahead with the quiz. It's still uploading. We were supposed to go out with the quiz right now, but we will do it in a short while. I will be taking a 2-minute breather because it just went a little more than what it should have. Just give me a couple of minutes. I will be back on live, and do join me on the quiz. Reminisce with Ash quiz.